All right, another podcast from the Michigan Institute of Athletics in Brighton, Michigan. It's going to be an excellent podcast today. I'm joined by the fight boss himself, Joseph Donofrio, a man that really has etched his name in the Michigan MMA community. He's been an integral part of helping the sport evolve in the state. He's hosted events at some of the biggest stages around Michigan, the Joe Louis Arena, the Palace of Auburn Hills, really some of the places that all fighters wanted to compete for were almost always belonging to Joe Donofrio. So, Joe, for the people that don't know you, were you born and raised here in Michigan, and how did you get involved in the sports world initially?
Yeah, to answer your question, James, I was born here. I was actually born in the city of Detroit. And how I got involved originally in the sports business, sports industry was I was a boxer when I was a kid, Golden Gloves boxer. So when I was a boxer back when I was 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, that started me off in the industry in the direction that I headed into eventually.
And really, I mean, that's the golden days. You're talking about Detroit boxing was huge. You know what I mean? That was that was probably before the Rocky film, or
way before,
way before. So you were really in the nitty gritty days of boxing in Detroit.
We're talking the late '60s.
Late 60s. You're coming up in the city of Detroit.
Now, you got my age. Yeah, late 60s. Yep.
Man, that's really awesome. So, you obviously had run-ins with Emanuel Steward and the legendary people that are thrown around.
Everybody. Emanuel and I started together. 25 years ago, him and I. We decided to do some boxing events together, and from there we just started. It just took off.
Now, what got you into boxing originally? You come from a tough family, or what made you walk in the doors and say, you know what, I want to get involved with this?
My father was a huge boxing fan, and if it was on the radio or on TV, he was watching and listening, okay? So he always kind of suggested maybe we'll try some boxing. So there was a guy 4 streets over from where I lived that was a boxing instructor, a coach, who I might still speak with today. And I walked over to his house and I said, hey, I hear that you train people to box. And he laughed at me, and I said, okay. He said, can you come by tomorrow? I said, I'll be here. And that was it.
What was the name of the gym? Do you remember?
No, he didn't have a gym. We worked out in his garage.
I love it.
We worked out his garage. And so this is for you, Jimmy Guarano. This is for you.
Jimmy Guarano.
Jimmy Guarano.
I like that, man. I mean, I started training people in a basement. It's really, if there's a love for the sport and you got people that are willing to put the work in, you can be successful anywhere. So then you got to witness the rise of Kronk and, the notoriety across the nation and the Muhammad Ali. Because, wasn't Muhammad Ali big in 67 and 60?
Oh, huge, back then, yes.
So you lived through that the
whole thing, everything.
Real quick, because I don't want to get off topic. What was that like, witnessing this man who not only was one of the best boxers, blowing people away that set expectations on him, but he was also a really controversial figure.
Oh, he was. He had opinions. He definitely had opinions. Go into all these heavyweight fighters who were real heavyweights back then. We don't really have heavyweights today. I'm sorry, we just don't. The Mike Tyson era, that's all over. Muhammad Ali was by far, the greatest fighter. Okay. And I'm not saying that he would be able to compete with a Mike Tyson today. That would be an interesting fight, though, because Mike Tyson is a really, really tough guy. Or back in his day, he was a really tough guy. But Muhammad Ali, yes, he was very controversial. Everybody liked Ali. Whether you thought of segregation as being right, wrong, or indifferent, everybody was a fan of Muhammad Ali's. Everybody.
That's awesome to hear, because he's really idolized now. He's a cultural icon that people look back. He's known as the greatest. You know what I mean? And,
definitely.
And then, anyway, to get back onto your story, so you decided to do your first event. So you're around the sport of boxing. You grew up in a home where you saw the love for boxing from your father. You met Jimmy Guarano. You start training. You realize how much passion and energy is in the sport. What made you decide that you were going to hold your first event? And do you remember the details of the first ever?
I remember it well. To be a fight promoter is something that I think I'm not alone in. I think several people would love to be either mixed martial arts or a fight promoter or a boxing promoter. It was something that I just wanted to do. And I can recall getting my first contract over 20 years ago with the Palace. This was after Emanuel and I went our separate ways. And I was so excited, it was unbelievable. I said, okay, I have a contract. I'm going to do a fight now on my own. This is going to be all mine. And it was a boxing event. It was a boxing event. And then we graduated into MMA and still stuck with boxing as well. But both worked out real good. I had an excellent relationship with the Palace. and I enjoyed what I was doing, and I still enjoy it.
And for the people that don't know, I mean, the Palace of Auburn Hills, if you're listening to this in another state or somewhere else, I mean, that is one of the mecca venues here. That's where the Pistons played. That was like everybody knew the Palace.
Oh, yeah.
So the fact that you were the boxing promoter at the
Yes.
Palace, that was a big deal, man.
Huge. The venue was perfect. It was kept up. The staff was excellent. In our shows, and James, you know as well as I do, it's a lot of back house work to do. Not only dealing with the fighters, with the venue, with the staff, it's just a lot of work.
One question I want to ask before we go way further in your story: the Fight Boss is an amazing name. It's a great moniker. It's a good nickname. Anytime I've ever heard that, like the Fight Boss, I'm like, that is just an awesome. Who gave you that? How was that bestowed upon you? Did you come up with it? You say, you know what? I am the Fight Boss.
I'll tell you who did. There's a gentleman by the name of Larry Goldberg. He owns several websites. One is Boxing Insider, MMA Online. He titled me that. He did a story on me 20 years ago and said there's a new guy in town, there's a new sheriff in town, the Fight Boss, okay? And he asked me if he could use it ahead of time. Is that okay if I do? I said, yeah, put it in parentheses, though, in capitals. And he did, yeah.
That's a little bit, I mean, it really is like a larger than life feeling. And you know, you got to be, as you're holding these events and you're seeing all these boxers come around, I know you drew some major stars back in the day. You brought in some mega power. Let's actually talk a little bit about, in the scheme of all your events, let's talk about some of the bigger ones and some of the people that attended.
Okay. I did Mike Tyson's last fight with Andrew Gulotta at the Palace of Auburn Hills, and Layla Ali was on the undercard.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was, and I don't believe Muhammad Ali was there then. I think he was, he was sick. So I would remember if he was there. So he wasn't there. But that was when Gulotta, in the second round, said, "I'm out of here." Jumped out of the ring, went backstage. The fight was over. Who wants to get hit by Mike Tyson?
Not me.
Not me.
No, we'll pass.
So it was not a good show. It would have been a good show, but in the second round, Gulotta leaves the ring. Yeah, just like that.
What was that like being a promoter where you're like, your name is on the line of the show and you have a guy get out of the ring?
Yeah, it wasn't fun. I went backstage. I said, what's going on here? I was talking to his manager. He doesn't want to fight. I said, I don't give a fuck. He's got to fight. You can't just walk out. He's already going to be disqualified. If I'm not mistaken, it was Frank Garza. Was the referee. Garza. Yeah, Frank was the referee, and Frank's been in the business longer than all of us. He's a great guy. And I think I spoke to Frank for a minute. I said, Frank, let's just pause things for a moment. Then we had the state officials there. You walk out of the ring, the fight is over. I was still trying to get the fighter back in. Gulotta was not coming back in. He must have got. I didn't see it because, as you know, James, when I'm doing shows, I don't have time to watch a fight. I wish I did. I don't have time.
100%.
Yep.
But, I mean, what a wild event. I mean, like you said, I wouldn't want to be the guy in the ring with Mike Tyson, but you signed a contract. You're a man.
Yes.
You committed to a day and time. You got to take your whooping like a man.
Yep. Second round.
So I had heard rumors that you had Mariah Carey at a show at some point.
Yeah, well, we did. We brought Tommy Hearns out of retirement for his final fight, Super Bowl weekend.
Wow.
So we had Tommy Hearns, and we had the Jarrell brothers out of Flint. Clarissa wasn't around then. Who else did we have?
That girl.
Leonardo Tyner. Yeah, Clarissa, she's good. And she's dedicated. She's dedicated. So we had them, and at that event, the Rolling Stones came. Mariah Carey did their national anthem. We had Joe Jackson, Michael's father was there. Evander Holyfield, he stepped in because it was on ESPN. He stepped in and did commentary. And it was just the whole house was filled with everybody because the Stones were playing halftime at the Super Bowl. So they were in town. Yeah, it was incredible.
Wow.
It was incredible. Talk about a cool bunch of guys. Awesome.
I almost want to ask, were you starstruck? But you're the guy putting on the event. You're the gentleman walking around. You're the reason they're all there. You orchestrated the event. Yeah. But I mean, a guy like me, I'd be walking and go, "Oh my God, you got Mariah here. You got the Stones here. It was just part of your life."
No starstruck, James. No, never. I have been around celebrities my entire life. In fact, this conversation just came up a few days ago about the Premier Center, which was a venue located in Sterling Heights who had all big names. And I was backstage one day, sitting there with my brother, I got him a job there, with Frank Sinatra, like, you and I are talking. No, I don't get starstruck. They put their pants on one leg at a time, just like you and I.
100%.
No starstruck. Out of everybody I've met, No, I could never go back and say, "Oh my God, I can't believe that I met that person." No, because I have a joke. I can't believe they're not saying, "Oh my God, I met Joe Donofrio."
Yeah. So it's like you have a respect for the fact that, hey, you've done well in your life. You're doing, but man, so am I. I'm the reason we're all here tonight.
Yeah.
And you know what? We're all just people. At the
We're
end of the day,
just
we're all people.
Exactly. And that's how I look at it. I don't care who you are. And James, you know this about me. In fact, I sent you a link today about when we want to take care of our people that can't get. So we hired the Detroit School District to use their buses to bus kids into the boxing. We didn't do the mixed martial art, we did the boxing. Oh, we had like 2,000-3,000 kids that would normally never get to the Palace, never see a boxing event in their life, and put them all in.
The one thing that I've known about you from the beginning, even before I met you, was you're extremely involved in the community.
Always.
You're someone that is always trying to find ways to give people opportunity that didn't have them. I remember some shows you were giving out tickets just to make sure that people could be a part of what you were creating. I remember
If you
that.
could not afford a ticket, just call me.
I remember it happening.
Yeah. And there was people, and I don't know if you recall, in the city, I want to say it was the city of Downriver somewhere, there was a young girl that had a fatal disease, and she was dying, and for some reason, still we don't know today, there was a neighbor that was literally teasing, making fun of this poor girl that was dying. To go to the extent of, she had a pickup truck, her and her boyfriend, he put a make-believe casket with the girl's name. It was something that you wouldn't believe is true unless I'm telling you, okay? I invited, because they were on the news too, I invited that family to the event. The mother, the father, the sisters, the brother, and the little girl that was dying. And we have a photo, I might be able to send it to you, of Tommy Hearns.
If you can get me these photos and stuff, I can get them into the podcast.
I'm gonna get you that photo of that little girl that passed away and her family, and they all had Donofrio shirts on, and it was incredible. Sweetest little girl, and she did end up passing away about 6 months after. Yeah.
Now, how many years have you been in promoting now?
25.
25 years. Throughout those 25 years, do you have a couple events that stand out that you let's talk about those. Like, which events did you really, like, while the event's taking place, you go, you know what, this is special? Or even maybe you looked back and you went, that was something special that we just did.
I'll tell you one thing that I feel was an accomplishment. Okay. So let's talk about a woman named Tanya Harding.
Everybody knows her.
Everybody knows Tanya Harding. Okay. So I'm having a show 15 years to the day that Nancy Kerrigan was clubbed. 15 years. I get a hold of somebody that I know that knows Tanya Harding's aunt in Texas. She calls me back. I said, listen, I want to get her. She's doing this boxing thing.
Yeah, I remember. She went into boxing for a little bit.
So the truth be told, she wasn't going to get licensed, but I was still trying to work on the details, get away. So I decided at the last minute I was just going to have her as a special guest, okay? She is absolutely the coolest chick you ever met. Oh, my God. Right from the trailer, for sure.
And openly broadcasted it. I mean, she was proud of it. That is who she was.
Right, okay. If she wasn't smoking a cigarette, drinking Jack Daniels and Coors Light, her night wasn't done. She was here for 4 days, and we took her out, and I'm telling you, everybody knew who she was. Everybody. And a lot of people booed her, but we had a line the entire time to take pictures and photos with her. Everybody. And autographs.
Like her or hate her, you know her.
Like her or hate her, it didn't matter. She was so cool. Down to earth, funny, hilarious. She goes, Joe, can we stop at the 7-Eleven, grab you a pint of Jack Daniels and a 6-pack of Coors every night?
Oh, my God. She had, if you would have got the boxing thing approved, she would have put it in the rules so she could sip some Jack in between rounds.
That would have been the clear body, yeah.
How do we get there?
She was so cool, though. And I got to be honest with you, James. She was fun to work with, a breeze to work with, zero hassle. The price was next to nothing.
That's awesome.
And she was an awesome person.
Yeah.
And the only reason I bring that up is so it wasn't really fight related. It was just a memorable moment.
Sure, yeah, no.
Because she's so cool.
Man, over the course of your 25 years, you've probably met some awesome people like that.
Yeah,
Not even just from the events. You know, are there any other moments that stood out? And then I want to talk a little bit about your charity work. I want to talk about you did an amazing thing with Gordon Shell, protecting the dogs. Yeah. But are there any other people or moments or events in the course of your 25 years that you know that like that's a part of my legacy I'm proud of? I really like that one.
Wow, that's a good question, James. I've done 100 shows.
100 shows?
100 shows, yeah. I've done 100 shows, boxing and mixed martial arts. And, really, that's just a difficult question to answer. Does one stick out? I guess if you would have asked me this yesterday, I would have said, okay, that one. But right now, I'll have to think on that for a moment. But I think part of it was the Tommy Hearns comeback was probably, Detroit, and it was a heavy snowstorm, and we still put 15,000 people in the seats. And Tommy went 10 rounds. Now, you're young. Tommy was 50 years old. To go 10 rounds?
Yeah, that's incredible.
I couldn't do it.
Yeah, that's incredible.
I couldn't do 3 rounds, and I'm in good shape.
And how sick is it to be you're the guy that's putting on this event? You came up in Detroit, and Tommy Hearns is a legend.
Oh,
that guy in his prime is truly a remarkable human being.
I was at every one of his fights. Every fight in Las Vegas, every fight here.
Yeah,
every one of his fights.
He was next level, man. The Hagler-Hearns fight, oh my God.
I was there ringside.
You were at Hagler-Hearns.
I was there ringside. 3rd row, ringside in the corner. I was there. The absolute best 3 rounds of boxing in history. Oh,
yeah.
Have you seen the 3 rounds?
100%.
Okay.
Hearns came out at 1,000 miles an hour, just ripping shots,
Yes.
and Hagler was
Yes.
so tough.
Yes.
Oh, my God. I didn't know you were there.
I was there. It was at Caesar's Palace outside.
Oh, my God.
I was there. It was an unbelievable fight.
The energy in the air must have just been remarkable.
It was crazy. When I saw Tommy, he got clocked by Hearns, and I saw his legs. I said, can I swear? I said, oh, fuck me. I said, fuck me. Tommy's going down. And Hagler came on him, and Hagler was a smart fighter. Tommy didn't have strong legs, but he was a great boxer.
Machine gun hands,
he was
man.
a boxer, but he didn't have strong legs. Those legs started buckling. He's against the ropes. Hagler came in for the kill. It was over. Best 3 rounds of boxing, to me, in history.
Yeah, I would put, in my opinion, that and the Mickey Ward, Arturo Gatti.
Oh, those 3, forget about it.
Man, the 10th, I think it was round number 9 in their first showdown. It was unbelievable.
Those 2 guys, the 3 fights.
The heart that was on display, like
unbelievable.
What kept those 2 standing up?
Now, did you meet Mickey Ward when he came to my boxing event?
No, I didn't get to meet him. I was out of town for that event, and I was devastated because I'm a huge Mickey Ward fan.
And Mickey Ward, awesome guy.
You had him right at the Palace.
I did. He came in.
Was he at the Palace?
He was at the
Joe
Palace.
Louis?
At Palace. Came at the Palace. He came to the weigh-in, took pictures with everyone. Another great guy.
Yeah, I was out of town, and everybody was sending me pictures, and I was devastated. I was
Mickey
like,
Ward. Yeah, he's a legend and a nice guy. 100%. And you'll find, James, guys like you that are in this industry that are champions that are just nice people. Then, of course, you got to cut the assholes, too. Yeah. But mostly, you got good people in this industry.
And at the end of the day, it's going to be part of your legacy. Like, you can be really talented, and people can just know you as an asshole.
Yep. And you know as well as I do, promoters have a bad rap.
100%.
Okay, it's true.
A lot of them are terrible, though. I mean, a lot of them are.
Listen, and you've worked with me for years. I never want anybody to say that Joe Donofrio is a piece of shit.
You have always, the one thing that I've spoken across the board, every time you ever told me something was going to be done, it was done the way that you 100%. Said it was going to be done. And that, to me, is more valuable than any title, name, what. So many people just run their mouth about, we're going to do this, that, or the other thing, and then there's no follow-up. Yeah. Anytime you've ever told me this will take place, it took place. So
death before dishonor.
What more can you ask for in a promoter?
If I tell you something, promoters are typically crooked. They're out to make the dollar, and they're out to screw the fighter. They have no regard for the fighter. That's not with me.
I want to talk about when you made the transition to mixed martial arts, because you're killing it in boxing, but you see this new sport emerging. What made you decide to finally pull the trigger? And if I remember, it was IFL, right?
That's right, Impact Fight Leagues. I can tell you what happened. So Stu Mayer was the executive vice president of the Palace. Stu came to me and said, hey, listen, Joe, we got this guy from Flint. He wants to do a cage fight here. I said, okay. And I had been in negotiations with the UFC in their early stages. I said, let him do it. Let's see what he's all about. Guy came in. Oh, his name was Neil Helmke. He came in. He did an event. He drew a lot of people, like 7,000 people. And I said, you know something, Stu? I think we're going to have to do this. I think this is the way to go. And this had to have been 15 years ago. It was really when mixed martial arts was just coming to the forefront, okay? And I said, let's do this. Neil didn't want to go back. He lost a ton of money. It's expensive to do shows, needless to say. He never wanted to go back. I picked up right, and I was the only one who ever did any MMA, mixed martial arts, at the Palace after that.
Yeah, if I can remember, it was like 2007 I went to an IFL event, one of the early ones. I don't know if that was your first, but it was.
15 years ago it had to be. So you're around the right time.
Yeah,
2005,
For the listeners here that know my academy, like Tim Farr made his professional MMA debut for Donofrio, and like you've known Tim a long time.
Tim Farr, 15 years, absolutely.
He's a great guy, man.
Yeah, let me see, how old is Tim now?
Tim's upper 30s.
Okay.
Yep. I think he's like 37.
Yep, sometimes I see all these, but I call them kids, and they're all growing up now, 20 years later.
Yep.
You know?
And man, that dude is an amazing father, husband, fighter. Like he's one of
always
the
been
OGs,
a good guy.
man. He's just
he's always been a good guy.
100%.
And anybody that comes from your academy,
man, we hold that
nothing
standard.
but respect.
Yeah.
And that's the way it's supposed
hold
to
that
be.
Standard.
You know, you and I were talking over the phone earlier today about an incident that happened at Joe Louis. We're not going to bring up those names, but the other fight camps do things that they shouldn't be doing. They shouldn't be disrespecting me or the venue.
100%.
And everybody knows that if you come into the Palace of Joe Louis and you do something you're not supposed to do, I'm going to be all over your ass. There's no doubt about it. You're not going to embarrass me and put my reputation in jeopardy. Not going to happen.
100%. And if you look at it this way, fighting naturally does attract people that have kind of a lot of tough backgrounds. And but that's where you need mentors at the top.
That's right.
That's where your program is a reflection of you. Yeah. So if your people are out there being assholes, it's a direct reflection to the leadership.
True.
You know what I mean? And I'm just not willing to stand for that. I'm not willing to have people that are putting my name on their back that are going to go disrespect a venue or a person or a place. No
or
way.
A promoter.
That's what I mean.
Or a promoter. Yeah.
Absolutely not. Because now all of a sudden, why does that promoter want to work with me when he goes, hey, James, I brought your guys in. I gave them this great opportunity, and they're disrespecting me. They're making you look bad. It's just a mess. Yeah. You remember the event where one of the people, we won't go names, jumped out of the arena and
oh yeah, that was controversial.
I mean, there's just
jumped out of the cage and jumped on the other guy's lap. Wasn't that fighter for you? The one fighter,
the guy that was outside that got jumped.
The guy that was sitting down.
Yes, Taylor Moore.
Yeah, that was him.
Yep.
Yeah, and I recall
sitting
who
down
that was. And the sad part about it is during the scuffle, a kid got hurt.
I remember that.
Yeah,
and that was the big drama.
That was the problem. And there was a full investigation by Lara, the Unarmed Combat Commission. I don't recall what
I think they changed the sentence later, but they originally banned that kid from competition indefinitely.
Yeah, because
but I think they changed it after.
They called me and they asked me, what do you want to do? And I said, well, what are you thinking? I said, we can't let it go unanswered, so what do you want to do? And I think we agreed on a temporary suspension. Yeah, it wasn't a permanent suspension. And you might be right. I think they wanted to permanently suspend him from fighting. And I said, well, it was one incident. You know, it made for drama. The kids had a little animosity between them. Whatever provoked them to jump out of the cage, jump on the cage. I don't give them a small relief from fighting for a while, and let's be done with it.
That's what I think took place.
Yeah. And like I said, the state of Michigan Unarmed Combat Commission and Lara. And the governor, whoever the governor was, I've always had a great relationship with them.
Yeah.
Never broke any rules.
And that's huge, too. It's like, because if they have faith in the promoter that's holding the events, now all of a sudden there's a good even at least open lines of communication. Where you go, hey, I'm going to have this covered. What do you need from me? Yep. You have my back. I'm going to have your back. And now all of a sudden we can hold a good event for fighters.
And I do that. I do that with the state. If they have an issue with anybody, whether it's the fighters, coaches, just come and talk to me.
100%.
We'll take care of it. We always do.
So I want to talk a little bit about the work that you do with Charities.
Sure.
We need to bring up the work that you did with Gordon Shell.
Sure.
It was outstanding. Sure. So just anything that you'd like to talk about on the podcast, and let's definitely talk about Gordon's charity.
Well, let's talk about Gordon first. So Gordon Shell was an MMA fighter and a bodybuilder and a wonderful guy. So Gordon had this passion about saving these dogs, pit bulls, in the city of Detroit. During this,
they were in the dogfighting rings.
Dogfighting, and some of in the movie that we made, there's some scenes of dogfighting, but there's some undercover. James, I'm an animal lover.
Same. I got 2 dogs at home, man.
Okay, it's a horrible thing. They were literally dogs fighting to the death. It was bloody. It was barbaric. So Gordon joins up with the Detroit Dog Rescue and decides that they're going to start rescuing these dogs. but there's a fine line. You can't just go take a dog away from somebody, okay? So one time, Gordon, this might have been during shooting of the movie The Dogfighter. There was a dog in the backyard in a cage that had been bloodied up. And I don't know how Gordon got the news of that dog, but he did. Gordon went to the cage. A Lincoln Town car pulled up, two older gentlemen in the front, young kid in the back, 14-year-old kid in the back, ran up and shot Gordon in the chest. Gordon had a bulletproof vest on. Jumped back in the car and they took off. It was the nephew of whoever owned the car. And I'm not sure Gordon could tell you better what happened. Shot him right in the chest. If he didn't have a bulletproof vest on,
He'd be dead.
He'd be dead. And the kid was 14 years old.
That is
Yeah,
unbelievable.
14 years old. That's what Gordon did. He sacrificed going undercover, going there. In fact, when the whole Michael Vick thing was going on, we tried to get Michael Vick to fight Gordon.
I remember Fight Me Mike Vick. I remember the shirts.
Fight me, Michael. That's right. Fight me, Mike Vick.
Yep.
That's right.
And I actually was hoping it was going to go out. I go, listen, Mike Vick will never step up to that. But
never happened. But I said, I will promote it, and I will give the tickets away.
Fight me, Mike Vick.
Oh, I said, come on, bring it. Let's do it.
100%.
You know, and Gordon wasn't cleared by his doctor to fight that last fight. His fight was at Meadowbrook.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what he was going through medically, but I remember
he had a heart condition.
That's what it was.
He had a heart condition, and his doctors did not want him to fight. But it went off. We raised a lot of money. We had pit bulls there. We had the Michigan Humane Society, the people that you see on TV, they were all there. It was a great night, and a movie came out of it. And I'll send you the movie because I think people would like to see the trailer.
Yeah, so I'll actually, right after, while we're discussing this, I'll clip this into the podcast. So anyone that's watching, I'm going to say, hey, here's your trailer. Yeah. You'll get to watch the trailer. Yeah.
I retired in 2010 because my doctors told me that I have a failing heart.
Gordon, how are you, my friend? Nice to see you. My name is Joseph Donofrio. I'm a fight promoter. Now, I have a fight coming up. I don't know if you're interested in coming back out. I would like to see us raise about $15,000 for your cause.
Well, with my doctor's concerns, I was really contemplating not taking this fight. But I just wanted to show you this one. It's pretty graphic. It's pretty bad. Reward offered after dog found dead, spray painted in Detroit. So I put in a phone call to Donofrio, and I told him I'm in.
You know, a guy that's going to go into the ring to raise money for dogs that are homeless and try to keep them warm, keep them fed.
I can't understand why you would put your body through something like this.
I'd hate to see something happen to him, knowing that I probably should have stopped him.
Every day he comes home and there's something, broken toe, ripped bicep.
If the other athletes in our society, the difference the world would be if they all would just take a moment and help out where they came from.
Gordon is a hero. He's donating his time, his money, his resources to building a no-kill shelter.
Well, they call me the dog fighter because I actually climb into a cage and I fight for the dogs.
I do support him 100% in everything he does. I believe in him.
And then, man, you know, support the cause. If you think there's something you can do, you want to donate, like reach out to Joe, reach out to Gordon. Like, I mean, even though it's not as on the forefront, these fights are always ongoing.
Oh yeah,
You know what I mean?
they still are today. And in the movie, you'll see a dog that's lying dead in the street, spray painted. I can't remember what they spray painted on the dog, but it was a dog that wasn't valuable enough to fight. and they either let it die, killed it, and it was spray painted.
It's just so inhumane. I mean, how
I don't get it.
especially because animals have a certain level of innocence that, like,
course
man, they're just looking for you to treat them well, give them food,
Unconditional
provide
love.
100%.
Unconditional love.
So if you're able to do something like that to an animal like that, man, it's a sickness in your psychology, in my opinion.
I think they should give the same sentences they would of a human being.
100%. You torture an animal. Why is it different,
As
man?
attempted murder, send them to jail for 10 years. I'm okay with that.
Man, I would back that too, 100%. Stiffer punishment. Well, if our legislation, brought forth that, I think most good people.
I think now that we're talking about it, I'm going to reach out to Lansing.
100%, man.
Yeah, I'm going to reach out to Lansing. I got a couple senators that are dog lovers. I'm going to do that.
I love it,
Thanks
Joe.
for reminding me.
I love it. Yeah, and that's something else that we should talk about. You're someone that, being so in the community, you really have a pulse on everything that's going on. And you're always someone that's making connections between people that help bridge gaps, to help organizations start, to help charities get momentum going. What keeps you on that drive? Because, like, every time I talk to you, you are always, you're working on this, you're working on that, you got this guy going. What keeps that spirit? Is it just...
I think it's because I came from very humble beginnings, and I think it's just in my heart to be a good human being. It's the same amount of effort to be an asshole as it is to be a nice person. It really is. And back in 1984, I joined a group called the Wayne County Youth Education Fund. Back then, it was Bob Ficano was the sheriff of Wayne County, and more recently, the sad death of Benny Napoleon. And I've been on that board since 1984. And every year, we have fundraisers, various fundraisers. We raise about $250,000 a year, and then we give it to various charities that ask us. And we're all voting members. There's like 30 of us on the board. And we say, this person wants $2,000. This person, like for gun locks, okay? Or this person wants $1,000 for a computer for somebody that got stolen, or $6,000 for a van. And all we've been doing this since 1984, okay? And yeah, that's part of what I do, and I enjoy doing it. But two other things that I do that are near and dear to me, that I've done for the past 15 years, are we do either a mixed martial arts or a boxing event at the Palazzo Grande in Washington Township for Leader Dogs of the Blind. We've been doing that for years. We're the largest single fundraiser for Leader Dogs of the Blind and the largest contributor, $40,000 for every show we give them, for every single show that we do. And This is dinner. It's the same people every year, just a bunch of good East Side, good old boys. And then we do another one. I want to include there's a couple of guys that I work with, Joe Burke, and a couple other guys, the names slip my mind now. But another show that we do with Tony Rubino is Multiple Sclerosis Society of Michigan. We do that at Villa Penna every year. And that one, we raise $80,000 every show. Every show. Everybody works for free.
Wow.
All the money goes up multiple and stays in Michigan. And we've been doing those for 15 years, too.
So you've built the right teams, is what it is. You have the right teams of people that are committed to a cause, and you stick to your word, and you stick to your cause. You do what you say you're going to do, and you've built that reputation. Because that is one thing you're known for. Like, I was glad when you said, hey, I didn't know if I should show up in a suit, but that's how I know you. You've been a consummate professional from the day I met you. So it's like when people know that is your reputation and you back your brand with that, people want to be a part of things.
And I appreciate it. Yeah, I am a suit guy.
Yeah.
I'm old school. I often say, I should have been born in the 20s. Yeah. I mean, I'm 100% of the time. My family's from Italy, and I'm still old school. Things that are happening in the world today is so dissatisfying. It's so upsetting.
It's hard to even bring it up on the podcast because the world is in a state of chaos that I never thought we would get to.
Never.
If you would have went back 5 years ago, Joe, and tried to say what was taking place this year, people would have locked you up. They would have put you in a loony bin and said, listen, that can't happen in the United States of America. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
We're living through it.
Recently, I posted on social media a statement from Paul Harvey from 1965. He said, if I were the devil. So in 1965, he's talking about if I were the devil. It's only 3 minutes long, and I would like people to look at it saying, if I were the devil by Paul Harvey.
I can actually link it under this video.
Oh, yeah. And listen to what he says. Everything he says is true today from 1965.
What kind of foresight
of
a man? If I'm 19, that's the year my father was born.
1965, okay?
And
everything he said, if I were the devil, I would give liquor to fine ladies and gentlemen. I would provide drugs. I would create a disease where there is no cure. I'm assuming it was AIDS, maybe. I don't know. AIDS.
Yeah,
But
AIDS was a crazy epidemic.
The things he's saying from 1965, he sounds like Nostradamus. It's incredible. So I did post it on social media, but I think we should put a link on there.
I can put a link under this
yeah,
video.
And you want to kind of like, don't politicize it.
Sure.
No. This is for Americans, okay? This is not Democrat, Republican. No, this is for Americans. I want you to listen what somebody said in 1965 that we would become, and we have become.
Think about that. I mean, literally, that is 55 or all those years ago.
Yeah, 55
and he's
years
predicting
ago.
and saying, "Hey, if I wanted to destroy things the way they are, this is what I would do to make that take place."
It's 3 minutes. You have to listen.
I'm going to watch it after 100%.
Yeah, and I'm glad you're going to put a link to it. People might, again, I don't want it to be political because it's not about left or right, conservative or liberal. It's not. It's about what the world is becoming.
And at the end of the day, I mean, it is just good people against evil people. I have friends on both sides of the political spectrum. I have friends that are rich and I have friends that are poor.
Yeah.
It's people trying to steer the country in a good direction or it's people trying to rip it from that direction.
I agree.
So step away from the classifications for a minute and look at just the ideologies and where it's leading us to, and that's important. In my
It's sad where our nation is. Again, not politicizing, but it is sad with the coronavirus and
so much anger, so much frustration, so much.
Jesus. Whoever thought that we would have to live in a world where we have to wear a mask? Now, the Chinese wore masks forever. I thought it was for pollution, but apparently it wasn't for pollution.
Yeah, when I would go I've been over to Beijing a couple times. I've been over to China. You see people wearing it, and I always thought it must be the quality of the air here is not as good.
That's what I thought. Yeah, but again. It's
I feel
COVID.
like there's an underlying tone of submission, though. I mean, I know I might be getting a little conspiracy theorist, but at the end of the day, like if you look at the Islam religion, where people are constantly masked and they can only have like a little bit of their face at the world, I don't know. Like you can't fully interact with other human beings in the way that we're meant to. If
everything
you
is
might not
covered.
even recognize me, man.
Yeah.
If I put a hat on and I cover all but my eyes, it almost takes away from the human interaction. Now all of a sudden we social distance. We don't shake each other's hands. We don't do these things. Man, I shake everybody's hand. I have respect for people.
Who would have thought that not seeing the loved one was a blessing?
I know it's.
Who would have thought?
I would have never thought of these things.
This is just where we're at today. We could have that subject.
Sure, that's a whole. You know what?
Yeah, 10 more hours.
That's a whole different
Let's stick
thing.
to something bright and sunny. And
Speaking of bright and sunny, the city of Detroit seems to be having a resurgence. Detroit, for a while, really was riddled by drugs and absolutely destroyed by violence and poverty. And I mean, it's still in a rough state, but I feel like Detroit is starting to make a little bit of a comeback.
Well, we're in trouble now because of COVID. All those people that opened up restaurants in the city of Detroit are all in trouble.
You're right.
There's hundreds of restaurants. Seriously, probably 200 new restaurants that opened up 2, 3, 4 years ago where they did the 50-50 plan. Whatever money you put in, the city would put in the same amount of money. So a couple hundred restaurants opened up. How are you going to stay alive with just carryouts nowadays?
No, you can't, man. It's not feasible.
No, it's not going to happen. In the new administration, so as you know, Benny Napoleon and I have had a relationship since the late 70s when he was a rookie. Benny and I, he passed. I still consider us best friends. So he's not gone. In my heart, he's not gone. So Benny and I had decided that we were going to do something that we wanted to change the nature of where Detroit was going. So I said, Benny, mayor, be the mayor. Why wouldn't you be the mayor? Let's do it. He says, all right, we pondered it, and he said, okay, I'm going to do it. So I thought for sure Benny would win. And I'll be frank with you and your audience. I said to Benny, because Mike Duggan had jumped in the race at the last minute, okay? I said, Benny, there's no way that Detroit is going to elect a white man. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You're going to win, okay? And I set it up to the night of the election. I was with him the night of the election. We were at the Athenaeum Hotel because Virg Monero from Lansing was running for governor. We raised $1 million in 6 months. Mike Duggan raised $3 million in 1 week.
Oh, my God.
Roger Penske, Dan Gilbert, Illich family.
Those are all the mega players.
Yeah. They had super PACs.
They just went all in on this candidate.
Carmanos. I'm trying to think of who else. $3 million in 1 week. Benny said he raised $3 million this week. I go, the fuck are you
Yeah,
talking
you said,
about?
yeah, right. Come on.
Who raises $3 million in 1 week? I said, okay, it's super PACs. It's exactly what it was. And yeah, is he doing a good job? I think he is doing a good job. Benny was made to be mayor, for sure. So I could only say that, yes, he is doing a good job. I think Benny would have done as good of a job.
And you were so close to him, man. You saw him through the lens of a best friend. So you got to see the man that he was.
Oh, yeah. Benny, let me tell you something. Nobody disliked Benny. I don't know ever a person that said Benny was a bad human being. Nobody. He was an honorable guy. And you've seen him at my shows before.
Yep.
He's been in my house before. He's just it was a tragic, tragic loss.
And those are the people that we need in elected offices. We need people that are like people of the people.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what I mean? That you can go to that person with an issue or a concern, and you know that someone's got your back and they're working on it.
And that was Benny.
So, Joe, we got about 10 minutes left. I just want to think, man, anything else? You have an amazing assistant, Ann Morell. I want to at least shout her out because I tell you what, that woman has been like, she is rock solid.
Ann, we were talking about Ann earlier. She's now on the Unarmed Combat Commission. That's exactly where she should be.
100%.
She's got good common sense. She's worked for me for 15 years. Now, if I do a show, I'm probably going to have to find somebody else because it'll be a conflict of interest. However, in the betterment of Ann Morell, I had to help her get appointed to the, despite it's bad for me.
No, that speaks a lot about you. You had the ability to just say, no, you can't do that. You got to stay with me. Or you go, you know what, this is an opportunity for you.
It was an opportunity, and she wanted it. And I knew she would do good.
100%. And Ann is a very objective person. Like she's voiced concerns to me before where she's seen other events. You know, she'd be at I won't name the different events, but go, man, this isn't right. What they're doing in this, and this. Yes. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, no. That's called honor.
100%.
Honor. Ann her and I have that. My quote is death before dishonor. And Ann has that honor. She has 100%. But there's so many people that put the whole thing together. Big Ox, Oscar Brown, he's been with me for 25 years.
Everybody knows Big Ox.
Yeah, 30 years. Ox has been my guy, my right-hand guy for 30 years before I got into promoting. You know, I just talked to him on the way here. We talk every day.
I want to know, are we going to see more Donofrio shows when all this madness ends, man?
I hope so. I'm trying to find a venue right now. I got an opportunity to do something big with the Little Caesars Arena. In fact, one of the Illiches came to me and said, hey, listen, there's a new thing starting. I don't know if you're interested, but here's what it is. And he threw it out, and it sounded crazy as hell, and it still sounds a little crazy as hell. 2 guys on ice skates in the middle of the ice fighting in a circle with ice skates on. I know.
Wow.
Apparently they're doing it somewhere.
So like the appeal of combat in hockey.
I don't know what the hell. It's on ice skates, center of the ring.
I mean, the Illich family is deeply connected to, obviously, hockey.
Yes.
And in hockey, the highest ratings usually come from fights. Like, whenever fights break out, people love it.
Bob Probert, yes.
So I wonder if somebody literally said, you know what we do? Remove the puck and the stick, and look how big the UFC is. Look how big boxing is. We're just going to make them. That's wild.
Well, apparently, it's already happening somewhere.
What?
Well, COVID shut it down, but it is happening somewhere already.
That is wild.
So they contacted me and said, are you interested? I said, you know, let's look into it.
Joe, they're trying a little bit of everything. I heard there's wheelchair boxing is blowing up in different places.
Really?
People in wheelchairs that want to experience like feeling like they want the combat. They want to. I've seen in different events where like, you know, they're placing and they head movement and box. That way they can feel like, imagine like if you were in a wheelchair your whole life, you had that fire
I wouldn't want to be
in that fight. You know what I mean? But I guess that's another thing.
From that respect of being stuck in a wheelchair my life, yes. Would I promote that?
I know. I felt so torn about it when someone told me about it. I said, man.
God, would I promote that, James? I don't know. I'd have to seriously think about it and make sure that it wasn't another example of midgets fighting. You know,
it's all going to be how the public feels about it, too. Because even if those competitors, with all their heart, want to be out there doing it, there's just a certain things, you know, that maybe society is just not ready for.
I don't think society is, but I got to hand it to the guys that are in a wheelchair. They say, you know, I don't want to be in this wheelchair. Let me do other activities. Let me ski.
Yeah.
Okay, and they do. They sit and they ski. They should not be held and restricted to sticking around the house in a wheelchair. So
100%.
yes, I would entertain that. Yes.
Yeah, so there's some wild things coming up apparently between the fighting in the middle of the ice and wheelchair boxing and
Well, we will see.
Well, I just hope that we can get back to some normal Donofrio shows, amateur pro boxing, MMA, because like this state needs it.
We do.
You know, and we need it, and I feel like a lot of people coming out of all this craziness that we've gone through want to return to at least some form of normal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you were one of the leading guys, so it's like a lot of people are probably waiting on you to pull the trigger. Like I know I've been thinking about it. I've hit up Ann and say, man, when are we getting back? I got a group of hungry wolves out there going, you know, when can we compete again?
Well, I kind of have an inside track with the governor, so she's going to open up the restaurants and bars shortly. But the state, we have to open things back up. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yes, we have to control the spread of COVID, but we also have to put people back to work, you know, and that includes live events. I spoke to somebody from Live Nation last week. They said that they are not going to do any shows until 2022.
2022, next year.
They're not going to do any shows this year. And if they do any shows this year, you have to show that you got the COVID shot and you have to bring a negative test to get in the building.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's just...
This is the world we live in today.
Wow.
Unfortunately.
So it sounds like the direction we're heading is like for live events, big sporting events, you might need to have a proof of a vaccine to even enter the place.
There is somewhere, I think there is some country that is doing that. I think if you fly into a certain country, I saw it on the news yesterday, you have to have proof of the vaccine and a negative test. Well, it was the Cayman Islands where that girl got in trouble, got arrested, because of the COVID thing. Yeah.
Wow, man. We're entering a strange new world. You just have to adapt, I guess.
I got to agree with you. I tell everybody I know, listen, don't concentrate on what's going on in the world. Concentrate on yourself. Look after yourself.
100%.
And I tell that to everybody, and take care of one another. It's just as easy to take care of somebody as it is to ignore them.
And if you have a certain amount of energy to spend in a day and you're going to spend it worrying about all these things you can't control when you could just be working on yourself, working for your family, working for the people around you.
I agree.
You're going to have a better future.
Well, I agree. And you can sleep better at night.
100%. Well, Joe, it has been a true honor and a pleasure having you on the show. I'm going to clip in those things with Gordon Shell. I'm going to clip in. Please send me the pictures from that event that you talked about. If you have any pictures of like you ringside with some of those celebrities, let's get these on the podcast and let's get it out to everybody.
I'd love to. And I appreciate you having me on the show.
No, 100%. Well, we will wrap this thing up. And again, that was Joe, the fight boss, Donofrio. So when his leagues come back, make sure you're at his events. Make sure you support the shows. Follow him on social media. And hopefully we see a state of normal again soon.
Beautiful.
Thank you very much,
Thanks,
sir.
James.